this section we're going to be talking about sexual performance. And as men and even as women, we may go into the bedroom with anxieties about how it's going to go, especially at the beginning of a relationship. And even when we get further in, we might get anxious about, are we performing well? And so we're going to try and address these issues in this video. So in terms of sexual performance, let's start with the guys. What are the common things that men may come into the bedroom with anxiety issues about? What are we looking at here for men?
Well, I think one of the key concerns, probably for both men and women, but is sexual performance itself. Like just, will it be good for my partner? Will I be good for my partner? And then within that, it kind of branches out into a couple different arenas. For men, it's often, depending on the man, one concern is going to be his erections. Whether his erection is going to show up or not, whether it's going to stay up or not, and, whether he's going to be able to perform at all. And then another concern is going to be, for some men, is going to be around his ejaculation. Ejaculating being a concern of not wanting to do it too prematurely.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, some men also are concerned with not having had enough experience in their life. Feeling like they aren't sexually savvy, that they don't really know how to please a woman. They don't know what's going to make her happy. And so these are all concerns and anxieties that can show up for men. And the fact that, there's several others, but I'd say these are sort of the three principal ones. But the fact that their mind will want to go into those places usually distracts them from being present, and then distracts them from being able to have the kind of sex that they want to have. So an erectile concern might have various reasons why it's there, right? It could be due to a medication. It could be due to a previous surgery. There's a lot of reasons you need to rule out. But if it isn't something that is mainly physical, and if it's happening circumstantially, in other words, if it's only happening that you're not having an erection when you're in the bedroom with a woman, but you get erections fine when you're on your own, then it could possibly be an anxiety issue, a concern about, either, whether or not you're going to be able to perform, or maybe it's an anxiety that you have about something entirely different. Could be about the office, about the kids, about the house, whatever, your debts, whatever it is. But all of those things sort of stay with a man, and he brings them into the bedroom with him. So if this is the cause of an erectile issue, I strongly recommend meditating and doing some deep breathing and being able to find a way and learn how to relax. There's so many audios out there on, helping a person to relax. And this is actually something that's worth exploring and learning how to relax. But furthermore, I think in that particular concern, to recognize that an erection does not equal sex. It doesn't necessarily equal good sex. An erection is important in some cases for many people, but to recognize that you as a man can still experience pleasure and eroticism even without an erection. And that a woman can experience tremendous pleasure from you even without an erection. With your soft penis, you can actually bring her pleasure, bring her sensation, and she can still enjoy it immensely. So, to be able to minimize the need for that and finding new ways to engage where you can take your mind off of that need. And I fully can respect that need. I think it's a valid thing for most men to want to have that level of performance, but also to say that there, if your erection is failing you in that moment, or that's what it feels like, to not shut down or pretend that that's not what's happening, right? This is the key element here, is like, talk about it, open up about it, say, wow, I really wish my penis was performing differently right now. And just let it be an open topic of conversation rather than shutting down in shame or pretending that that's not happening and, trying to, accentuate more foreplay. Actually open up to your partner and let her know what's going on, and if you wish that it were different.
And how can a woman support at that point?
Well, she can certainly, first of all, feel compassion and know that this is important to him. Ask him, how can I support you? What would you like? Would you like me to do more oral? Would you like me to give you some massage? Just find out, like, co-create together what's going to work. If a woman leaves it to him and he's going into shame, she's probably going to feel, some distance in the connection. So for her to be proactive, for her to be engaged, for her to be enthusiastic, to want to help him, and to also find other ways to experience pleasure together.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one particular performance piece that I can just go on and on about. But those are some of the key elements, is to not be quiet about it, to actually speak up about what's going on for you, and to make sure to find out what the cause is. If it's circumstantial, then we need to address the anxiety. If it's something else, then we need to look at, testosterone, medications. Sometimes porn addiction also will cause this. It will cause erectile issues in men, which is a real concern. And that's a huge Pandora's box. So we'll pause that one for now. But the other performance pieces, more common ones, such as ejaculations, and ejaculating prematurely, and for some men even delayed ejaculation is a concern, that they can go on and on and on and they're just not ejaculating. And I address these differently, but I find that they can be often sourcing from the same place. So without going too deeply into the causes, I would say that with premature ejaculation, it is part of a man's life path and practice if he chooses to engage in conscious sexuality. It is part of his path to learn to circulate the energy of his arousal, move it through his body, and be able to retain his ejaculate. He doesn't have to retain it forever. I'm not one of these teachers that thinks that you should never ever ejaculate. I think ejaculations are as natural as menstruating, and that they need to happen once in a while. That's fine. I just believe that as a man gets older, it's more valuable for him to learn to ejaculate less in order for him to retain life force energy. And so to do that, to slow down his movements, to breathe deeper, to expand the sensation of arousal by using his breath and bringing his breath into his genitals and into his arousal, moving that energy up through his body with his breath, with his intention and his breath, is one of the ways that he can prolong that ejaculatory experience. So that means slowing down and breathing deeper, slower, longer breaths. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, to begin to strengthen the pelvic floor.
And how do we do that?
Strengthening the pelvic floor means that you are going to begin to access the muscles that move, sort of a bed of muscles that move from your pubic bone to your coccyx, which is at the tip of your sacrum, that triangular bone at the base of your spine. Mm-hmm. And so there's a whole sort of few layers of muscle that exist there that are in part responsible for the output of your ejaculate, because they're clenching involuntarily when you're releasing. So if a man can learn to tune his energy into that area and begin to strengthen and contract and clench those muscles and release them as if he were, doing some kind of free weight exercise, right? Maybe 20 repetitions, perhaps 3 times a day. And the best way to find it is just go urinate, stop your urine midstream. You've found the muscles. You're in the right spot. Then you can stop doing that. You don't have to keep stopping your urine every time you go. Yeah. You just figure it out once or twice. And have that as a practice, as an exercise. This could really support a man. If he's really committed, this will really support a man to be able to retain his seed. But then the next level is going to be to bring that energy up through him so that it can invigorate all of his organs, so that it can invigorate his brain chemistry, and just bring him more life altogether, by choosing to and intending to take that sexual energy up and through his body. I like to emphasize up through the spine, but really in the beginning stages, just move it through you. So you're using your breath as a vehicle to transport that sensation up through your body as you are at higher levels of arousal. So during heightened states of arousal, deepen your breath, slow it down.
How much of this is about taking responsibility for our own pleasure as men, but also as women? For example, when we go into the bedroom as a man, that we are fully centered in our bodies and our hearts and our breath and in our genitals, that everything connects, and we come to that place where we don't need someone to externally stimulate us, but obviously it helps. So how much is it all about that? Is that one aspect, or how do you see that?
Well, for men being concerned about their performance, there's a piece around responsibility, but it's really just owning whatever it is that's going on for you. So I think most men are familiar with self-pleasuring, so therefore they've taken a certain amount of responsibility in pleasuring themselves and finding what, those edges of their arousal.
So it's a different kind of pleasure.
So the third thing I mentioned was about how so many men feel inadequate in the bedroom. They feel like they don't know how to please a woman. Some men don't even know how to approach a woman to get her to want to be lovers with him, and primarily this piece around not having had enough experience, right? A lot of men do feel that they just don't know if they know how to please a woman. And I think this is a piece that it has to do with, first taking responsibility that you aren't as schooled as you'd like to be. But then what do you do when you're in school? You ask questions, right? You don't know the answer to something, you ask more questions. So I really encourage both men and women to ask more questions of one another. And not just an open-ended, so what do you like? But like, give a person an opportunity to find out, so if I'm touching you this lightly, do you like it that way? Or would you prefer if I touched you harder? When I touch you here, do you prefer that, or do you prefer if I touch you here? So give options rather than kind of an open-ended response. Because a lot of people don't have that sense of responsibility, and they just sort of say, yeah, whatever you want, that's fine, and don't really give any leading answers to the partner. So if you feel like you don't know what to do in bed, and you don't have access to as much knowledge as you'd like because somehow you didn't come across the university yet, then begin to ask more questions of your lover and make it part of the foreplay, make it part of the loving. You can even get into these questions when you're not in the bedroom, which makes it a little bit easier because then the performance aspect isn't there. So let's say you're sitting at the kitchen table or on the drive home from the movies, and let's talk about our likes and dislikes, and literally engage. When I lick your ears, or if I were to bite your neck, or why don't you show me exactly how you like your nipples to be touched, and then we'll play follow the leader, right? So get those questions going and make it a fun part of the game, really.
Yeah, those are some really important tips for guys who are looking to improve their performance or so-called performance in the bedroom. Questions are always a great way to get over that hump, and I've asked many questions in the bedroom, so don't be afraid. No matter what stage you are in life, it's always a new experience, so keep asking those questions. Is there any final things you want to wrap up with?
Men are amazing. Give them a break, ladies. Tell them what you like. Express more to them. They'll get it right.